Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Solid Sports Podcast. Today is Tuesday, September 10th, and what a weekend of football we had.
It's so good to have it back. Every single game felt like magic. It's just going to keep feeling this way until it leaves us again, but for right now, I'm just enjoying every single bit of it until we get into the deep parts where I start stressing too much.
We have like 20 more weeks or something like this.
Yeah.
It's awesome. More news, Jamal Murray signed an extension, college football this weekend, and then, yes, the whole NFL slate that we will get into. So, let's do it.
We gonna make it, baby.
Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid sports.
Welcome back to this week's episode. Before we start, we are presented by Slove. Slove is not just Colorado's next and up-and-coming clothing brand. It is a clothing brand who aims to bring a movement globally. When you wear a Slove piece, you're not just wearing a piece of clothing. You're elevating your style and representing what love looks like. If you're ready to spread love, go follow them on Instagram at sluv.co. That is sluv.co. Or go visit their website at sluv.us. Go check out all their clothing, all that good stuff. Before fall starts, a new season, new clothes. It's the perfect time. You know what else is the perfect time for? I guess football. But before we start, it's the perfect time for reigning NBA champion Jamal Murray to get his extension, which is what he did over the weekend. Jamal Murray, 4-year, $209 million maximum contract for the Denver Nuggets. He's back, locked up, all the way until Nikola Jokic is locked up. So for right now, we have the two best players in Denver, at least that play for the basketball team, locked up for 4 years. Good news.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think that's one of those guys that, when the rubber hits the road and things start going certain ways, I think that's one of the guys you hold on to, kind of like Jokic, that, those are guys that no matter what, you need to get them what they want, because those are two guys that I feel like the Nuggets should try to keep around for their whole career and have them kind of finish their career as a Nugget. So I think that's just a big move there, and I think it's something that both sides really wanted to happen. So I think good things are coming for the Nuggets, and it helps that you have these two great players playing on this team for an extended amount of time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. What about you?
Excited, happy. I think we all know it's happening. Don't think he is going anywhere. But, hey, those two are inseparable at this point. So
Peanut butter and jelly.
yeah.
So, it's great. Great news. He kind of was up and down last year, a little bit rough of a season stat-wise and health-wise. But, hopefully with I guess it's not really an extended off season. It's kind of like the same he kind of dealt with last year, being in the championship, going so deep in the playoffs and then having to play, and then this year having to play in the Olympics. But hopefully a little more healthy Jamal Murray this year. Hopefully Russell Westbrook can help with that and extend his timeline a little bit. So good news for him, good news for the Denver Nuggets and all the Denver Nuggets fans, including ourselves. So that was really the only basketball news we need to touch on until hopefully October.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing else will come. I guess Aaron Gordon changed his number. I'm sure everybody knows about that by now. It's been a couple of weeks, but what was it, 32, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's from 50 to 32. So I'm going to have to get another Aaron Gordon jersey.
Yeah, same.
And I'm going to get it signed again. Jeez.
Darn.
Yeah. The 50 might have more value now. You never know. So,
Yeah, probably.
but I guess for the big news, first full football weekend, including college football and the NFL. I guess we'll start Saturday, college football. We'll go back when we talk about the NFL to Thursday and Friday, obviously. But a few games I feel like we should talk about. I guess I'll let you take the floor first and talk about the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, they're just proving what everybody thought they were going to be. Just to be honest, here's the thing. I do, as much as it doesn't sound like, I like Notre Dame, but I just don't think that they should be getting as much credit as they should just because they don't play in a conference and all that. We've already touched on all that, but I think we just saw a team who was playing cocky and playing down to their level of the team they were playing. And when you're not that great, that doesn't really work out too well for you. So, a team like Texas, Georgia, Alabama, those teams can do that and pull away in the end and be fine. But when you don't have a very solid team, and there's definitely some kinks you need to work out, you can't really play down to your competition against a hard-fighting Northern Illinois team who came in there to upset and shock the world. So them holding Notre Dame to 14, it was unbelievable. They just looked off on all aspects of the game. They never at one point felt like they had any juice. It was just a neck-and-neck game the entire way, and then Notre Dame just couldn't finish it off.
Northern Illinois walks into Notre Dame and wins 16-14 with a field goal in the final minute. Like you said, huge upset. I think it was the first time NIU ever beat a top 25 team.
Yep.
Or top,
it was
top 10.
Was their first top 10.
Yeah.
Top 10. So, I mean, good for them. And I think they got paid $1.6 million to do it.
Yep.
So, I mean, what a weekend for Northern Illinois.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's kind of a vice versa situation right now. Whereas, we were talking about if they could beat Texas A&M, their road for the rest of their season is so easy, they're definitely going to crack in. Now we've reached the opposite side of that, where they're probably going to be bounced out of the top 10, maybe even the top 15, honestly, because of how bad they played. And now you look at their schedule, and they may not play another ranked team for the rest of the year, unless they play Clemson, I'm not sure. But they don't really play anybody else for the rest of the year, so there's not really an opportunity for them to crack back into the playoffs. So this is probably one of those situations where it is early, but you've probably already knocked yourself out because of how soft your schedule is. There's just no road back to it, I don't think. And honestly, because of this, I could see them losing 2-3 more games too.
In the AP poll, they fell all the way down 13 spots to 18, and in the college football, or in the coaches poll, they have fell down to 19, so they fell 12 spots there. I don't know about I don't think the college football playoff polls are out right now.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think they come out to week 8 or 9.
Yeah,
or something.
so in the AP poll, the one that most of the people follow at this point, Notre Dame is now 18th instead of 5, which they were last week, which is a crazy drop off already. I didn't get to watch the game, but just seeing the reaction from Twitter or from you, it was clear that Notre Dame was kind of stinking up the bed the whole game.
Yeah.
And what I heard pretty much this whole week was Marcus Freeman could be a better person than he is a coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where I think, I don't know, he got the job when Brian Kelly left, and it kind of felt like he was forced in that position. He's a super young guy, and not to say that young coaches can't succeed, but it just kind of felt like they needed a knowledgeable coach who had been in and around football for a very long time, who can kind of take over that program, kind of like Brian Kelly was. So I just think that maybe it wasn't the best decision, but I don't know yet because it is still pretty early in his career of coaching. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the future, but they got to beef up this team. That the offense just was not doing good at all. They were just having a rough time on defense too, but the future will tell what Marcus Freeman can do with the team, but as of right now, it doesn't look like they're going to have a very good year.
Yeah, I totally agree right now. Well, I guess we'll see going down the line if, some teams are going to get better. Some teams are going to get worse. That's just the way college football goes. But as of right now, NIU, top 25 football team in the country. So awesome for them. I think they're number 25 in the AP poll. So congrats to them for, a huge weekend. I mean, it couldn't be a bigger weekend, for that school. So that's awesome to see. A weekend that was not so great happened in Boulder, Colorado. I guess it happened in Lincoln, Nebraska, but the ripple effects are being felt here in Boulder. Colorado gets embarrassed by Utah. I almost said by Nebraska. That was the words of Deion Sanders Jr. himself. Yeah. Their YouTube video literally is Colorado gets embarrassed by Nebraska, which is ironic, I guess. Pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, me and Caden got to watch a little bit of the game. We watched, I think, the first half, and then the second half wasn't really worth watching, I'd say.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, it's just one of those things where this is a classic case of media kind of bumping up what isn't there. But for Colorado is not that great of a team when compared to a team like them. So, hey, I know I'm wearing a shirt, but this is when he was with the Falcons. But it's just one of those things where it doesn't even feel like really coaching. It just feels like that team's not ready to compete with a team like Nebraska, who is kind of proving themselves to kind of be a little bit more of a powerhouse than some people might have thought coming into the year. But the offensive line just is terrible. The defensive line and defense in general can't stop the run. They can't stop anything, really. And so they were able to kind of do whatever they wanted. And then Shadur, who I think is a very good quarterback and who has pretty good weapons as well, it doesn't matter how good your weapons are if the pocket's just closing in on you the entire game and there's nothing you can do. Like even that pick six, at first I thought he just threw that. But even if you look back, he's being pressured in his face because the offensive line can't hold anybody for more than 2 seconds. So I think we just saw a classic case, like I said, of the media bumping up something that wasn't there. I think the spread was only like 10.5 or something, which is ridiculous looking back on it now. But I think Nebraska is just way better than they were last year, and I think Colorado is about the same. And I think that line just cannot hold up to kind of like that big of a defensive line who can kind of just get right through.
Yeah, I totally agree in the sense that you said Nebraska, I think, is better than they were last year. They're Patrick Mahomes-esque quarterback.
So weird.
Very weird, but he's pretty good.
No, yeah.
It is really weird that he does Patrick Mahomes cosplay, but other than that, he is a really decent quarterback, especially he's a freshman, isn't he?
Yeah, no,
True.
because he decommitted from Georgia. I remember that. He was supposed to go there and then flipped. But, dude, I have to talk about it for a second because I think it's so weird. Here's the thing. I understand that you want to – I 100% get wanting to shape your game after somebody like Mahomes, especially if that's your play style. I get that. But, dude, the glasses are the same, hair's the same, headband's the same, jersey's the same, celebration's the same, armband's the same, cleats the same, everything he does is the same. Like, it's weird. Like, it's not – it's kind of creepy, honestly. It's not –
Do you know he did pick the number 15 for Tim Tebow?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to dress exactly like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So, I mean, I think he's a really good player, and I think that shaping your game after someone like Mahomes is cool, but I think he's literally cosplaying as Patrick Mahomes and not just the games, in every aspect of his life.
And it's really weird.
It's really weird to watch.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You hit that on everything. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just weird, but he's a kid, so
Yeah.
I really have nothing to say about it. I mean,
And as long as he plays well,
yeah,
doesn't really matter.
We all grew up imitating players and stuff. I just don't think I did it to that extent.
No.
But the next thing you know, he's gonna find a Brittany Mahomes.
Yeah.
Watch out. No, but yeah, that game was terrible for CU. Shador, I don't want to put all the bad criticism on the offensive line. They are bad. Don't get me wrong. Shador didn't play great though at all.
Yeah.
He couldn't really read what Nebraska was doing, especially pre-snap, which I feel like is huge for quarterbacks, especially if they want to play highly at the next level. So he didn't look great in that aspect either, but I do agree their offensive line, they need more guys that listen to Chris Stapleton and less that listen to boss man D'Lo, in the words of, I think, macrodosing today. So, but yeah, Jordan Seaton, I mean, he's a freshman, number one lineman recruit of this past class. He's been all right. I mean, he was pretty good the first game, but even when one guy on your line is somewhat decent, the rest of your line, when you can't double everybody. Yeah, you don't have enough players for that. So, and then this kind of also goes back to whose tweet was it that said Clemson had too many white players on the field?
Yeah.
It was Rodney White, correct? I think it was Rodney White. I think when I was listening to Macrodose, and they broke down that I think the max amount of white players you could have on an offense is like 7 players.
Yeah.
It's the offensive lineman, the quarterback, one slot receiver, and then possibly a tight end.
Yeah.
But if you get to like 10 or 11, you're going to lose some games.
Yeah, no, I saw some. I saw Coach 30 did I think that's his name on Twitter.
Yeah.
He did something on Colorado in the Nebraska game, and he said if your linemen vote blue, the quarterback's going to see red. So
that's a good analogy right there. But yeah, other than that, Travis Hunter had not a great game either. Shiloh was out. I don't think Jimmy Horn did that much either. Just a rough game for Colorado in general. They have a chance to bounce back this weekend in Fort Collins. That will be huge. Battle Colorado. I'll be there. I'm excited.
That game's going to be close.
I
could see CSU winning.
I could too.
Straight up.
Yeah, I could see CSU winning. I might bet on them. I am going to wear somewhat CSU gear this weekend.
Yeah.
Pander a little bit, but when in Fort Collins, you gotta play to your strengths.
Play the environment.
So I'm very excited for that game, though. It does have potential to be really good when how good CSU has been playing for their standards and how iffy CU's been playing for their standards. So I think it could be kind of what we saw last year, but maybe CSU pulled off the mini upset. I don't even know if you'd call it that anymore. But do you have any thoughts on CSU or CU Nebraska before we move on? I know you caught a couple minutes of the game as well.
No, it was a rough game. Shador couldn't do anything, and when your quarterback can't do anything, it's rough. He threw for more yards than I don't know why. I feel like I don't know why he made that comment.
I wanted to ask that because you were once a lineman, correct?
Yeah.
Offensive.
Yeah.
What's the like, what was your opinion on what Shador said on, kind of throwing his lineman under the bus? I know that's like a huge unwritten rule in football.
It's fucked up. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It probably won't bode well in the locker room, that's for sure. He might get a little longest yard, Everyone just kind of, oops.
Especially with him leaving with 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah,
that was bad.
I think the whole way he handled that was not correct, but
Yeah.
can't change it now. You said what you said, so.
Yeah, I think that's more of something that you should handle internally, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to the media.
I mean, it's also one of those things where it's like Shador has to man up to his mistakes as well as other people's, and I think that would soften the blow a little bit if he mentioned, like, how did Nebraska's O-line do? But then he reeled it back and was kind of like, but I still have to be able to make decisions and affect the game. And I don't know. I don't know if it's just like the way that they feel with Dion as the coach, where it feels as though he's like favoriting his sons and Travis so much that it feels like he can say whatever he wants, really, and what's going to happen kind of situation.
Yeah.
I don't know the internal affairs that go into these practices and meetings and stuff like that, but it doesn't seem like they're really a team. It seems like it's a couple guys and then just a whole nother group of people. Like, it doesn't feel like they really move very together at all, and that's something that I feel like is missing. And it's a team that I feel like would do well if they were winning, but isn't handling adversity very well currently. And I think if they can learn to do that, I think it could learn to progress things and they could get a little bit better.
And maybe that helps them next year. Losing, two potentially top, 15 draft picks, and Shador and Travis Hunter, your team might get better just for like a team aspect. Dion having to, I guess, focus on other people. I don't want to say it like harshly, but just bringing in new recruits and having to, your sons aren't there anymore. You got to put your focus on everybody. So maybe next year will be the stepping stone for that. Who knows? Maybe it's this week. We'll find out. But
they need it.
Christian, I know if you're listening, I know he's hoping CSU will win. So I'm kind of hoping they do too.
I personally have
just for the
CSU.
environment,
I
so.
personally have CSU winning.
I
think they're the better team.
But I know a couple people are listening for this moment. Michigan got their asses beat this weekend.
Yeah, no, we are not looking at the same Michigan team even close.
Texas.
You already said it.
Texas, hook 'em, the second best team in the country. They went in to the Big House and they beat the absolute shit out of Michigan, 31-12. It wasn't close from the first quarter.
Yeah.
Texas probably would have had a touchdown in the very first 5 minutes of the game. They brought it back because of God forget what call, but probably stupid because Michigan they cheat. But we went down, scored the next drive anyway. We missed a field goal on the previous one. They went down. I don't even remember if they scored or not. Probably not. I think they punted. Quinn Ewers led the team down. We did the same thing. Threw it to the tight end in the end zone. He was great. I forget his name. Oh fuck, I know his name. 1 second. Gunnar Helm. He is a great tight end, especially after losing, I believe, Sanders last year. I think he's on the Panthers now. Could be wrong about that as well, but I think I saw him this weekend on the field. But, yeah, it wasn't close. It was really fun to watch Michigan finally get humbled because it's been a while. A lot of people on their high horse. Dave Portnoy, Connor Stallions, Trey. Some people that should not be on their high horse. So Texas is almost back. I don't want to say it yet. But Michigan is far gone now, so I'm very excited about that. Like you said, not the same football team. Their offensive line, not great at all. Had a lot of trouble with Texas's D-line, which isn't even that good this year after losing 3 of our guys to the draft. Texas's offensive line looked great. Could be the best O-line in the country if they keep playing like that. A lot of Chris Stapleton listeners on that team. Quinn Ewers, great. He's just never really flustered. And Arch Manning, they should have put him in just to so he could experience the Big House. But, your thoughts on that game?
I think, there's not much to say about Texas. I think Texas just did what everyone thought they were going to do. I think Texas and Georgia have kind of, at the moment, separated themselves as the top 2 teams in college football. And Ohio State might crack into that conversation here soon once they play somebody, but they haven't really played anybody, so we can't really get a gauge on them yet. But I think the biggest story here is Michigan, and I think, honestly, the biggest fault it really comes down to is failure in coaching transition. I think at the end of the day, when they swapped over coaches, I don't know what happened with recruiting, and I don't know what happened with players lost. I haven't looked too deep into it, but I see a lot of people complaining and saying like, well, this is what happens when you lose this many players.
Texas did too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
So was Georgia.
Yeah, so I was literally about to wrap it back to when we won our first national championship, Georgia, in 2021 or 2022. It's the same season, but it was one of those things where I think we had the record most high players ever drafted in the NFL, and then we went back to back. So it's not about losing guys; it's how well your coaching and recruiting does to bring players in once you have lost them. And I understand like losing a quarterback is kind of tough, but honestly, like I don't think Alex Orji's too horrible, and I think that shouldn't be an issue because J.J. McCarthy wasn't really a quarterback either. So he was more of a handoff guy who could dot it up when he needed to, but it was more so just like he was a game manager, I would say. So yeah, I just think this is a failure to kind of get your team back on its path, and this is a type of loss that could set Michigan back a couple years, honestly, and it might be one of those things where some of those penalties they get from the NCAA aren't going to matter too much because this might not be a playoff team, and they might not be a Big Ten powerhouse for a couple of years. I think they'll get back just because there's such a blue blood brand of football in college football, but we'll have to see if they can bounce back from this, but it was ugly.
Any thoughts on that game? I know you got to watch some of it as well.
Like you guys said, I think that's exactly what at least all of us expected to happen, was Texas to go in there and whoop some ass. I think it's a little over for Michigan for now. It's nice.
Yeah.
We'll get to not hear about them for a little bit for sure.
Yeah, I know it is nice. I don't know how if this team goes against Ohio State, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah. I was expecting Texas to win, but I wasn't expecting Michigan to look this bad.
I think
It was
this.
bad.
I don't even remember what the spread was, but I think it was like 8 or something. Which Texas was. I was kind of weary about that because like you're going into the big house. Quinn Ewers' first game there. He used to be an Ohio State guy.
Yeah.
His first game in the big house, I was kind of expecting it to be a closer game. No, Michigan's terrible now. When you're not cheating, it's hard to recruit. It's hard to win.
Yeah.
They did, granted, lose. I think it was like 17 guys to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of O-linemen. Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy, even though he sucks. A couple other guys, obviously losing Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, a lot of programs lose guys. I mean, Alabama is losing guys every year, coaches included, and they, besides Saban, obviously, but they were able to just bounce right back.
They won like 7 in 10 years.
Yeah, so I don't think that should be really the excuse that you can kind of land on. But, it's going to be really good not to hear "Go Blue" out of anybody's mouth for a long time. So I don't expect to see them in the playoffs. I'm not going to lie. I think they will probably win out most of their games. I think they will lose to Ohio State by a lot of points. Yeah. And then, honestly, a couple of these Big Ten teams might shock them late in the year. I don't know.
100%. I could see them losing a couple.
Yeah, I don't know their schedule exactly, but the Nebraskas, the Wisconsins, the Iowa States beating Iowa this weekend. I mean, there's a couple sneaky teams in there that Michigan should look out for. So, other than that, no really college football news, I believe, this week. We're not going to recap every game, obviously. There's way too many. Yeah. Oregon barely beat Boise State. I guess that was somewhat noticeable.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a couple teams going in to next week that I don't know, I'm kind of shaky on them. Oregon is one of them. We're all very high on them, and it's super early. It's too early to really talk about anything too crazy. But they don't look like the team that we were expecting to see. They didn't do very well against Boise. They weren't ever able to hold Genty, which, granted, Genty could win the Heisman this year, so there's that. Alabama didn't impress me at all. If you look at that final score, it does not indicate how that entire game went. They finished the game at 42-16, but looking at this, I think it was like 16-14. South Florida was up going to the fourth, and honestly, I think South Florida had a lead or close to it with 10 minutes to go, and then once the hope was gone, that's when they kind of blew them out of the water. But Alabama did not play very good in that game, so that's a team to look out for. Like we said, Ohio State hasn't really played anybody, so we got to wait for them to kind of go. Penn State kind of scaring me a little bit. I think they're going to be able to edge out the Bowling Greens and the West Virginias of the world. I think they're going to be able to keep doing that. But if they want a chance at this Big Ten championship, like I kind of predicted, they're going to have to bow up a little bit and be ready to go against an Ohio State. But yeah, other than that, there's not much going on. Tennessee's proven itself to be a very big powerhouse this year. I'm excited to see what they do. And yeah, Georgia and Texas, I think, have firmly kind of push themselves into the top 2 teams in the nation.
Yeah, like you said, kind of too early to overreact about the Oregons of the world, the Penn States, but some things are concerning, this early for any team, especially in college football. I guess good transition, especially after week 1. Let's not overreact like the Miami Police, but we will talk about week 1. We'll start from Thursday, move on to Sunday, starting in Kansas City, ring night. Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, McCole Hardman. I think that's notable. Chris Jones, Andy Reid, all getting their rings for last year's Super Bowl in Arrowhead. A little bit of a rain delay, lightning delay, which kind of upset a lot of us that have been waiting for months to watch NFL football. But I guess what's your initial thoughts on this game? It was a great game. Lamar Jackson, I guess, to me, he kind of struggled, especially decision-making wise. His legs were great. I think he had like 100-something yards, 116 or something like that. 122 rushing yards. He looked great on the ground, but I guess some of the passing and some of the decisions were a little concerning to me. But then Isaiah Likely was kind of, shown as a star for that team. Mark Andrews didn't look great, but their defense didn't look great either. But, what did you see from that game initially?
It was very reminiscent of the AFC Championship between the two last year. Just kind of a game where I think the Ravens easily could have won it. If Lamar could have kind of put it on some people a little bit better, I think they could have done better. I know he's old, and I know that they said they don't want to hand him off the ball 30 times a game, but you got to get Derrick Henry involved in the game because Justice Hill isn't going to be able to carry you to a Super Bowl. So it's kind of unbelievable just sitting back there and watching Derrick Henry get 10 carries throughout the entire game is what it felt like.
13. His first 13.
Yeah.
His first drive was awesome.
Yeah.
He didn't run the ball great in the first, 4 plays of that drive. His first 4 handoffs were but once he got to the other side of the 50 and those defenders were tired, Chris Jones might have been off the field for a couple plays. Derrick Henry looked great.
Yeah.
And then they were up 7-0. Chiefs came back and responded quickly. But then the Ravens just went away from it. They felt like they were playing from behind when they were tied, which I guess that's the feeling that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs make you feel. Yeah. But you got to trust what you've been doing as a football team for years.
Yeah, and that's kind of in a broader scope what they did in that playoff game. They had been succeeding all year doing one thing, which was running the ball around, being a running team. And then they decided in the game they wanted to be a passing team, and they completely switched everything up, and that's what lost it for them. The Chiefs also played well. That's just the truth. Pat is Patrick Mahomes, so he's going to have a game all the time. Ed Reed apparently says that there's an easy way to stop Patrick Mahomes. I'm very curious what he means. I don't doubt him, though, because that's the same guy who,
Stop Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. A lot. So I'm interested to see how the Chiefs go on from this as well as the Ravens. I think this was just a possible AFC Championship matchup between these two guys. So we'll have to see how it pans out, but the Chiefs are fast. They're really fast. If you can find a way to shut that down, I don't know how great their running game is. It's pretty solid, but I think that Isaiah Pacheco is a guy who you can kind of stop a little bit. But like I said, super early. We're going to have to see. This game could be played tomorrow, and I think it could go a completely different way. Isaiah Likely was wide open in the end zone. Lamar missed him. Zay Flowers wide open in the end zone. Lamar missed him. And then, honestly, at the end of the game, Isaiah Likely is an inch away from that game going to overtime or ending because they were going to go for 2. So, I don't know. This game could flip-flop either way, and this, like we said, could be a possible AFC Championship matchup. What was your thoughts on Taylor Swift? The Chiefs game.
You guys nailed it. Lamar, rough game. Could have definitely hit his receivers more. And I agree with the Derrick Henry take. He definitely needs to be utilized more. I think I said it last time, or maybe I was just talking to someone. You didn't lose your leading rusher. You just gained a starting running back. That was the craziest stat to me. Yeah. So I just don't understand why you wouldn't go, and I would run it a lot more. Yeah. Lamar threw it 41 times.
Yeah, you can't have that's not successful for them.
You take away 10 of those and hand it off. I feel like you have a much more successful day. Yeah.
I think it's crazy that, first of all, the Bills let Patrick Mahomes get drafted to the Chiefs, and then they let Xavier Worthy also get drafted to the Chiefs. Xavier Worthy out of Texas, he looked fast, to say the least. He didn't get touched on that first play. He got the ball and just ran to the end zone, didn't even get touched. And then his second touchdown, just looked faster than everybody. I think the Chiefs are just so dynamic. That's why, obviously, it's not the hottest take to have them, as your Super Bowl pick going into this year, but that's why I picked them. I mean, they are so dynamic and they're so fast, but they're also very methodical. Like some of their players, like they just have such different styles. Rasheed Rice looked great. What was the tweet? Rasheed Rice starting off the drive.
Oh yeah.
So PFD was like, "That's not a good way to."
I really don't know how he's playing right now.
No,
Was it 4
because he's playing.
charges?
I think it's like 8.
You see,
He's playing for the Chiefs
Deshaun Watson got put on the exempt list.
already. No,
Yeah, for the commissioner's exempt list.
I think they're still investigating. I don't.
We'll
talk-
as they're looking.
We'll talk about him later on how he was too ass of a quarterback. Anyway, it was just cool to see like Xavier Worthy and Rasheed Rice are like very fast, and then Travis Kelce is like slower in space, but like he's just creative, and I think that's perfect dynamic. And then that was like the whole first half. Travis Kelce barely touched the ball. Something Gray, I forget, he's been there forever. Noah Gray or something like that. Yeah. He was catching the ball a lot. Xavier Worthy, Rasheed Rice looked great. They still have Hollywood Brown just sitting there that didn't play last week. And then the cool thing is they used Pacheco so much in the second half.
Yeah.
Just let him rest like the whole first half, and then the second half when they needed to put it to bed and run the ball, he had all of his energy, all of his body was good, and he just ended the game for them essentially. And like, especially on that one play where he could have been tackled and he just didn't hit the ground, and he just got up and he made the extra effort play. And that's pretty much, I guess, what has been deciding these Ravens-Chiefs games is the extra effort. Zay Flowers fumbling last year in the AFC Championship, and then their players, the Chiefs players, making extra effort plays, in this week's game. So I think, like you said, just very similar last year's AFC Championship. And I don't know, I hope we see another matchup. I don't want it to be in the AFC Championship, but I hope it is early in the playoffs. I would prefer this one to be in Arrowhead because last year it was in the Ravens Stadium and the Ravens lost. So just another fantastic start for the best team in the NFL. So suck to see. You hate to see it. You know what else you hate to see? The Eagles winning. They beat the Packers on Friday night. I didn't get to watch 1 second of this game because I was at Dodger Stadium. So you were going to have to tell me what you saw, besides Saquon having 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I was having to watch it on my phone as much as I could. Saquon was a dog, though. Saquon is who we know him to be. He's worth the money that he gets, and he made a very big difference in that game with the 2 touchdowns, just being able to get
3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. Okay, I was just seeing it through the rush. I mean, he's a dog. Jalen Hurts, kind of all over the place.
I heard he had a rough first half.
Yeah, it wasn't terrific. I think he's just one of those guys who you don't know what you're going to get when you play him. And I don't know. In this game, I think he did enough to win. I mean, when you score 34 points, that's you're getting it done a little bit.
One huge deep ball to A.J. Brown as well.
And then you have the Packers who, losing Jordan Love at the end of that game, he'll be out for a couple weeks. They looked all right, and that's what I'm most excited about is because it's so early.
He'll be back.
Yeah, and this is also one of those things. It's like, is this a matchup of 2 teams that are really, really good or 2 teams that are kind of mid to high? And this is why this game is so good. Like, we don't know if it's because the Eagles and the Packers are 2 of the best teams in the NFL or if they're right in that middle spot, and that's why it was such a good game because they match each other so perfectly. It's going to be a rough little stretch for the Packers, I think. I think it's Malik Willis as their quarterback. I'm interested to see how he plays. But I don't know, that team is kind of built to kind of be ran by Jordan Love, I feel like, in his talent. So we're going to see how they go moving forward. But I think the Eagles have proven themselves to be just kind of that same team as last year before they went downhill. And we're going to have to see how the season plays out for them.
Was it Jalen Carter that hurt him?
I don't really remember because it was on like a Hail Mary attempt of sorts because it was on their last drive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was your, I guess, initial thoughts? I know you didn't get to watch it either, but just seeing Jordan Love go down and, how the Eagles, I guess, dropping 34 points in an opening week is pretty good for no matter whose team it is. So,
yeah, I mean, going down in the final minute is a terrible way to go out, I feel like. But I think Jackson had a great way of putting it. Is this 2 really good teams, or are we looking at 2 iffy teams? I still am iffy on both, I feel like. I don't think even looking at the box score or anything, nothing was really proven in this game. It was just, a 5-point game. Everyone scored a lot of points, but that doesn't in the end mean anything. Everyone scored a lot of points, so I don't know. I don't think it really showed me anything.
Yeah, I think what we will see in the next few weeks is how Josh Jacobs is utilized a little more because he wasn't really utilized this game.
Mm-hmm.
I, again, didn't really get to watch, but just box score watching. Didn't really seem like he had much of an effect on the game. Obviously, Jordan Love going down, I think you're going to need to run the ball a little more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Josh Jacobs should show why he is one of the best running backs in the NFL in these next few games. I think the Packers have a couple tough matchups coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I know they play the Colts in a couple weeks as well. But
Colts, Titans, Vikings.
all right, so never mind. They have an easy schedule coming up.
Rams, Cardinals,
honestly,
Texans.
Okay, well, those are the hard teams right there. They have about 3 games that Malik Willis has to play that they'll survive. So yeah, they'll be fine. But I'm hoping Jordan Love comes back healthy. I was excited to watch him this year.
Mm-hmm.
I hope the Eagles lose every game. Other than that, we will move on to Sunday. Sunday morning, about 8 a.m. Pacific time. Tyreek Hill got arrested.
Yeah.
Pretty big. Yeah, terrible video. I don't know if you've watched it yet. The body cam footage came out, but that was crazy. He somehow came on the field and scored, but we'll get to that game.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott got his extension that morning as well before the game started. Yeah, I mean, Cowboys.
Yeah.
Fuck them. Jamar Chase still didn't get his extension, but he did play. So we'll get into that slate. We will start off in Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow and the rest of the team disappointed every single fan or fantasy owner out there, including myself.
Yeah.
So what I saw from that game is, I guess the Patriots aren't as bad as they're still bad. Don't get me wrong. But I think they're a little better than maybe the Panthers of the world. Mm-hmm. And I think I had them in that category going into this week. Gerard Mayo, congrats on his first win as head coach. Looked like a decent football team out there. Jacoby Brissett played decent, 15 for 24, 121, no interceptions. Game manager, not too bad. Ramondre Stevenson played great.
25 carries. It's insane.
1 touchdown for him. Their receivers, they didn't really have one that really stood out, but full crew kind of got it done in little ways. And their defense, I mean, holding Joe Burrow in that offense to 10 points, I think that says enough. Yeah,
I mean, this might just be a symptom of the Bengals coming out and thinking they're kind of better than the Patriots, kind of maybe playing down to the Patriots. And while the Patriots, I don't believe are good either, I think they just came out and played really hard. And when, we talked about this kind of in college football, but when a team plays down to you and then you play as hard as you do, you can kind of pull off some upsets. And I think Jacoby Brissett has kind of proven himself over the years as a very, very solid quarterback. He's not a quarterback that's going to take you to a Super Bowl, but he's a guy in games like this who can get it done where it needs to be done. And things just were not clicking for the Bengals. I think they'll figure it out. I think they're going to be fine down the road. But yeah, it's a pretty scary start for the Bengals.
They always start off like this,
Yes,
though. Every single
always.
year, Joe Burrow and company do this. I think they were 0-4 2 years ago. I think they said the only game Joe Burrow's won, week 1 of his career, they went to the Super Bowl that year. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I mean, they've struggled really early every year, and it sucks for fantasy owners that have both Burrow and Jamar Chase. Yeah. So, thoughts on this game, or just thoughts on any of the teams?
Rushing was rough for Cincinnati. Definitely need some help from his running backs to have an effective pass game. Mm-hmm. So, Jamar Chase, I feel like he didn't have a terrible game, but when you're missing T. Higgins too, I think that really hurts Joe Burrow. Everyone says, you essentially have 2 wide receiver ones. So, and you get one taken away. I mean, it's tough. Jamar Chase is now getting doubled every time. Exactly. Which, it doesn't help the whole team. So. Once T. Higgins gets back, I think that'll make a big difference as well. But I agree with what he just said, too. The rushing game, I think their running back's name's like Chase Brown or something. Yeah. Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Yeah. They don't seem very good. I know Zach Moss, former Colt, he was all right, but in a system behind Jonathan Taylor, who was a premier running back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there going forward. But I think once T. Higgins comes back, they'll be okay. And we'll see what their defense can get a little better. I mean, holding a team to 16 points is really good in the NFL, but when it's the Patriots, you should hold them to 10 or something, to a high-scoring game, which I thought was very exciting. We moved to Buffalo. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen, incredible game. 2 touchdowns running, 2 touchdowns passing. He's going to have to do that almost every game this year for the Bills to win. I thought the Cardinals played great offensively. Putting up 28 points. James Conner was a monster. Kyler Murray was pretty good.
this game I think would have the score I think looks a little better for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Considering DJ Dallas did have a kick return, only one of the season so far,
Yep.
week 1. But
They got what they wanted.
yeah, the NFL got what they wanted, that's for sure. But Kyler Murray looked good. Marvin Harrison Jr. did not. Your initial thoughts on this game and I guess these two teams going forward?
I think, I think the Bills, I have a good feeling about them after this game. I think they're just a hard-working team. Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He showed that in this game. Without Stephon Diggs, I feel like he did pretty solid with playing around with his guys and stuff like that. And I think the Cardinals are exactly who they were last year. Just a frisky team who can beat anybody on any given week, no matter who they're playing, because they play hard. And they have a bunch of good, solid guys on the team who are ready to go. And I think they showed that this week, that they're like a never-say-die type of team. I think Kyler, when he plays well, he's really good. I think once they find a way to get Marvin Harrison involved, I think that's something that could propel this team to actually kind of put up a fight in the NFC West. But we'll have to see if they kind of implement that at all and see how they go from here. But I think the Bills putting up 34 on anybody is pretty impressive. So I'm excited to see how they keep going through this year once they start playing some harder teams, see how Josh Allen can do it without having that number one guy.
Yeah. Kid?
Were Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, were they drops?
I
drop?
don't know if he got,
I don't think
he got targeted.
He got targeted
Maybe
three
once.
times.
Three times.
He had one reception for 4 yards, and I feel like I couldn't remember if it was a drop or not.
There was one play where he got wide open near the end of the game where Kyler didn't see him.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the first game. Like you said at the beginning, a lot of overreacting going on. So I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is nothing to worry about. They'll figure it out, I'm sure. I hope for my sake in fantasy. But yeah, typical Josh Allen things. We're watching again. He's here. He's back.
He's so fun to watch.
He is very fun to watch. But I don't know. His receiving core is rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mac Hollins had a game.
Yeah.
Falcon.
Yeah.
Former Falcon.
Mhm.
I think Keon Coleman's going to have a huge rookie year.
I do too.
Just seeing after the first game.
He's a big target.
Yeah, he's going to be a good one. But I don't know. I think we'll see what happens.
The only thing that concerned me, I guess, was Marvin Harrison Jr., surprisingly. He looked so slow getting off some of these routes. I saw one clip on Twitter of Greg Dortch and him running the same route. It was just like they ran like 10 or 15 yards, curl route, and Greg Dortch turned around probably 3 seconds before Marvin Harrison, and it was the same exact route. And they were the same exact speed. It's just how fast he turned around. And that's like the little things when you're changing speed from college to the NFL.
Yeah, I think that's one thing with Marvin. I think it might take a little bit longer to adjust to the NFL. You're no longer doing comeback routes on, three-star guys from a team that's not very good on like Bowling Green, who you can kind of just take it slow and burn them. It's not like that in the NFL. Everyone's good and everyone's fast in the NFL. And I think a lot of rookies are going to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how he does, but I think the learning curve might be a little bit steeper, especially when he's on a team like the Cardinals, where he probably might not get that many throws to him because the team's not as good. So I'm interested to see how the season goes.
All right, we will move on to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s dad's former home. Indianapolis Colts faced off against their foe, the Houston Texans. I fucking hate C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins. I just want to start with that.
Yeah.
Excuse my language. He's done this to us 3 times, okay? I talked to Horst about this a little bit, and this is how he kind of feels. And he was like, well, imagine this, but just Patrick Mahomes. And I was like, okay, I could kind of see how that sucks, especially him dealing with this for like 8 years or whatever. C.J. Stroud has played us 3 times. Colts have been in the game every single time. Granted, we didn't have Anthony Richardson for one of the matchups last year.
Yeah.
We had a chance to win that game. We only lost by 2. It was 29-27. Texans were driving down the field. I think the Colts had 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Played it perfectly. It was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, something like that. It might have been like 3rd and 12. C.J. Stroud makes another just impossible pass to Nico Collins. And Nico Collins catches on the sideline. I don't even know how he kept his foot in bounds. Or I think it was like his forearm or something. It's just ridiculous. They do this to us every year. Just those 2 players. The rest of their team sucks. Stephon Diggs had a great game in his debut there. But other than that, Will Anderson didn't play great on the defensive side. Their corners kind of got cooked. Their safeties kind of got cooked. And they're supposed to have, Singletary or Stingley. There we go. In their defensive back room, he didn't look great. Kenny Moore picked off C.J. Stroud, of course, a holding call or something that brought it back.
Mm-hmm.
They bailed out the Texans like twice that game.
Yeah.
I think there was one turnover, and then one should have been a fourth down, and it was like the stupidest holding call or something like that. It's just getting old. I couldn't imagine dealing with this with Patrick Mahomes, but C.J. Stroud went from very exciting player for me to watch, and now he's my least favorite player in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Nico Collins is right behind him. So that was my thoughts. Anthony Richardson played all right. He had 2 deep balls that was like cool, but he honestly doesn't look very great, so I'm kind of concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Just his decision making. Alec Pierce caught a couple great catches.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Mitchell was wide open like 3 times. Anthony Richardson couldn't hit him. Just very concerning start for the Colts. That is a good team we played against. So it's not the end of the world, but in games like that going forward, you just have to make one stop.
Yeah.
And then if you get the ball back and you go down the field and you fumble just like you did last year, then you have to live with that. But we didn't even have a chance to go down the field, which it kind of sucked for me because I think we could have hit a kick from like 40. We'd had decent field position. Went down there and gave ourselves a shot, but we couldn't even do that this year. So yeah, my summary was fuck C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins.
I kind of think the opposite on the Colts. I know it's your team, so you see things that I don't see. But I think this is the battle for the AFC South, especially for what we saw with the other 2 teams. I think this is pretty clear cut that these 2 other teams are going to be fighting for that. I think Anthony Richardson just needs a little bit more time. I think how many games has he played? Fourth game in the NFL. Mm-hmm. This is pretty much his rookie season. So, I think he just needs a little time to kind of see the game. And for a guy who has only played 4 games in the NFL, he looked pretty good, in my opinion. But I think he'll just need time. I think this Colts team is pretty solid. They got some good receivers. A.D. Mitchell is a dog, so I'm excited to see him go, former dog and Longhorn. I'm excited to see him play for you guys. But, yeah, I think this is 2 best teams in the AFC South, and I think that every single game you guys play against each other is going to be like this. And it's just going to take that little bit to kind of get it over. But, yeah, C.J. Stroud is
fucking worst. I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna crash out one time. Maybe this year. I hope it's not this year.
Yeah.
At some point in the future, playing C.J. Stroud, I'm gonna crash out. I something will be broken in whatever place I'm watching that football game in. So,
Dang it.
yeah. Any thoughts on this game?
Y'all, no one on, like, you guys didn't play bad. Jonathan Taylor could have had a better game for sure. Mm-hmm. Anthony Richard, 9 for 19. I mean, that's not that great, but 212 yards. I understand he's throwing bombs. The thing is, they killed y'all on possession. Mm-hmm. 40 minutes to 20 minutes. And it was that close of a game, too. That's what you have to think about. If your defense gets a couple stops, gives the offense one more drive, maybe 2 more drives, and cuts that possession down, you guys win that game.
Yeah.
That's it.
I hope.
Because they had the ball for a long time.
The only concerning part is this was in Indy, and now we have to go play them for the second time in Houston, which could be the deciding factor of, possibly who wins the division if it's that close. And last year we had it, same situation, and it was in Indy, and we had a chance to win, and we fumbled the game away, and we were out of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing that concerns me is it seemed like a must-win game, and it's early in the season, so no need to overreact. Mm-hmm. But I mean, which I already have, but it's just like if that comes down to the final game and we're playing in Houston, that concerns me. And so yeah, I think I heard that C.J. Stroud was illegally gambling, so I think we should look into that.
I heard that he has never done such a thing in his life.
Well, I heard that he stayed away from the massage parlors, but I guess that really doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. You could still play. It's just you become a worse quarterback. So, and your team doesn't like you, which he was doing that too. Illegal gambling. He crashed a car.
He was not.
He probably killed somebody. So I think we should investigate C.J. Stroud in the long run because some of his actions are concerning to me. But all jokes aside, he is a great quarterback, but he is going to scare me for the next 15 years of my life. So please stop. All right, we'll move on to Rutherford, New Jersey.
East Rutherford.
East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. Not for the Jets, but for the other team. I really don't want to talk about this game, but for the pure soul of 5 of our listeners, we will. Daniel Jones is the guy. No, I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
He sucks. Yeah, that was a rough game to watch. Yeah. I don't know why I put my money on the Giants. It was most likely because Sam Darnold was on the other end, but he looked good.
Yeah, he played the best game of his life.
I think he completed his first 12 passes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I didn't really get to watch this game because it wasn't on Red Zone. No offense, but yeah. Did you see anything in this game?
Giants suck. I mean, it's just maybe they hit a turning point, but they don't look good at all. I think they're down there with the Panthers in terms of their skill at this point. I think it's about time to start thinking who they want to pick because Daniel Jones is far from the guy. I think he's gotten ample opportunities to kind of show that he's the dude, but I think it just falls short every time. And I know last year he got hurt, but I don't know. It's just the way he plays the game. It doesn't look good. It looks stiff.
The way he looks, just walks.
Yeah, he looks like he gained 40 years in between 2 seasons ago. So I don't know. Maybe the Giants hit a little bit of a turnaround, but I feel like, I don't know, Daniel Jones ain't the guy for him. I think they got to look towards the draft to kind of think who they want to get. I think they have some other kind of cool players on their team, but I think we just got to wait and see what they want to do with the rest of the year. I would say swap them out, but I don't know. Drew Lock is their backup.
Tommy DeVito.
DeVito. I don't know. Yeah, so honestly at this point I feel like Drew Lock might be able to play better. I think Daniel Jones is kind of fading away unless he hits some type of turn. I don't know how you play like that and date a woman like Kay Adams, but
They're not tests. That's fake.
it
better be.
I don't know.
It better be.
I heard it from the mouth of a Giants fan.
Yeah, what do they know? they thought Daniel Jones was the guy. More pick sixes since touchdowns since signing that contract.
Yep.
Ironically, he was the number 6 pick in the draft too, so he was pick 6. Yeah, terrible start of the season for Daniel Jones. Aaron Jones looks good for the Vikings, which surprisingly. But what was any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, Daniel Jones is terrible, and I think the thing about it is like,
I'm so sorry, David's family.
As Giants coaches, you guys don't know that, and you guys still let him attempt 42 passes. That's insane to me. Give the ball to someone else, anyone else. I think any of your running backs, your 6th round draft pick from this year, give it to him. He might make something happen. I think he has a better chance than Daniel Jones does.
And I do know like the winning. You can't win in the NFL by just throwing screen passes. I think it's very apparent that the wide receiver screens, it's very hard to create space unless you're like certain teams with that play. But they just have to try it. Just give it to the guys and let them go in space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Daniel Jones can't make a play anymore or at all.
If you give Drew Lock, maybe even Tommy DeVito, 42 attempts, I think they have a better game than Daniel Jones did.
I could also see that as well. Malik Neighbors is going to get sick of this quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was sick of it before he walked in the building.
Yeah, I feel really bad for him because he was really good last year in college. And, I just couldn't imagine playing with a quarterback like that. First of all, if he is dating Kay Adams, he is now public enemy number 2 after C.J. Stroud, which it would be ridiculous. But, I don't know. There's just nothing positive I can find to say about him.
No.
The beard's whack. His game's whack. He's whack.
Those jerseys were whack.
The jerseys were disgusting to see on that field. They did play at MetLife, right? Yeah. So they did they have the cool logo in the middle of the field this week? I didn't get to see that.
I don't know. Like you said, it was not on Red Zone very much, so I did not see them.
But yeah, Sam Darnold cooked you guys. I do apologize.
Can't let that happen either.
Can't let that happen. Defense.
As Giants,
What can you say about the defense if Sam Darnold's cooking you guys? Not a good start for the worst team in the NFC East. So
sorry, David's family.
Yes. Hey, let's look forward to this offseason.
Happier days.
Yep.
It's going to be a little rough for a quarterback class, but you guys can go get Shador. I know you guys already said you didn't want him. You can go get Quinn Ewers, hook him. Carson Beck will be there.
Go Dogs.
That's about it. Other than that, you guys are screwed. So, and Saquon left you guys. Sorry. All right, move on to the next game, where the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft took his talents to the big field, or the big game, the regular season. And, first time, I think, since 2002, the number 1 overall draft pick as a quarterback won week 1.
Yeah.
So, huge stat, huge win. He didn't do any of it.
No, he did nothing.
Literally, the offense did not score 1 point, I don't think. So, it wasn't a terrible game for him, though.
No, I mean, for a first game, it's not terrible. I think it kind of exemplified what we were talking about before the season started. One of the best situations that a quarterback's ever fell into. Because, if he puts up that kind of performance for, the Panthers, he's not good. It's not good at all. They probably lose like they lost this week. But he's blessed to have a pretty solid defense behind him. He's got pretty
Really
solid,
good- really good defense.
Yeah, really good defense. Good special teams, good receivers. He's just got a good team around him, and I think that could push them to win a decent amount of games this year. And who knows? Once he gets settled in the NFL, we see how he does. So I don't know. That's one of the guys that I'm like, I'm going to wait a couple weeks to really usher an opinion on how he's going to be playing. But I think once he gets comfortable, he'll start playing better. Titans suck.
Yeah.
Will Levis is one of those guys who at any given moment can crumble to his knees, grabbing his head and throw away a game like he did. I think he still has that kind of edge to him to where he's still trying to prove himself. And I think sometimes that shows in a really bad way, like flicking the ball forward when that he could have just taken the sack. So I think he needs
Still
to just
learning as
relax a little bit.
Yeah, he's still learning as well. Any thoughts on this game? Or
I'm-
just on the status of these teams at the moment?
If the Bears didn't win that game, they would have serious issues outside of just Caleb Williams. I think that team is terrible. But I mean, I don't know. It's the first game.
Yeah.
I think there's no reason for if this continues, then yeah, you should be worried. But like
They won.
everyone on the exactly, they won first of all, thankfully to the defense.
Because if they lost, we probably would have been looking at this through a different lens. But
Yeah,
he did enough for them to win.
they had 3 fumbles.
Yeah.
Can't have that happen. And like everyone else could have played better. DeAndre Swift, 10 carries, 30 yards. He didn't do nothing.
I bet on him too.
Like, I don't know. I don't think there's any reason.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, like you said, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't the best, but they won. So
A win's a win.
it's all that matters in the NFL.
I guess they did lose Roma Dunze. Well, he's week to week now, but
Yeah.
that's going to be probably not the toughest hit. Keenan Allen dropped a wide open touchdown that he
Mhm.
could have caught. That was terrible.
He's old.
Yeah, but he's like an all-pro wide receiver. Your hands never. You don't lose your hands. You lose your legs.
It might hurt.
It might hurt. But yeah, I think if they lost, we'd be looking at it through a different lens. But a win is a win in the NFL.
Yep.
Move on to week 2. You be better. I don't know who they have next week. I believe it is a little tougher of a game. They have the Texans, yes, on Sunday Night Football. So yeah, C.J. Stroud will ruin their lives too. So yeah, I mean, I still have faith in Caleb Williams. I don't think it's really going to be a huge issue going forward. But get the first game jitters out of the way, and you move on to next week and get a primetime game. So that'll be interesting to see for him. All right, the next game, Saints-Panthers. All right, the next game, Steelers-Falcons. No, all jokes aside, Saints beat the shit out of the Panthers 47-10.
That was, and I think, honestly, I don't know if this is me as a Falcons fan saying it, but I think that the Saints don't need to get too high on their horse about this win.
No.
The Panthers are the equivalent of a FCS team playing right now. They are terrible.
Oh, Bryce Young is terrible.
There's not any aspect that is savable on that team. Brian Burns was the last standing, like, solid player on that team. And the fact that Adam Thielen is probably the second best player on that team says a lot about it. And then Bryce Young, like you said, just played like shit. So
No, he stinks. He didn't play like shit. He is shit.
First pass of the season, baby.
No, yeah, the first play of the Panthers season, they threw the ball to the other team.
and then his other pick, was 30 yards behind the receiver
Yes,
and
it was
right
bad.
to the safety.
Yeah,
I saw a tweet. It said he improved from the first half because it took him 2 passes to throw the second pick in the second half.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that game at all. The Panthers stink, and the Saints should probably win next week.
Yeah.
We'll talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Another team in the NFC South. I'll let you start this one off, and I'll let you just carry this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think last night you said what happened, and I said T.J. Watt happened. I think that D-line literally won that game. I think that's as simple as it really is because Kirk Cousins, I mean, he showed good things. I mean, he didn't disappoint me too much. I think a lot of it had to do with he didn't have any time really in the pocket. So I think that's where a lot of those bad balls and interceptions came from. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at him in a clean pocket, he was dealing, and they were moving the ball really, really well. And then he would get collapsed upon, and then the ball would get knocked out, fumble, stuff like that, throw a pick. Our defense, really, really happy with how the Falcons' defense played. They only let up field goals, and I think, honestly, when I think back to the game, I want to say they only really allowed 3 field goals. 2 of them were from a fumble in our own zone, and then the other one was a pick that went back to like the 20. So I'm not too upset with our defense. I think in my head, maybe it's delusional, but in my head, they realistically only let up like 12 points. And we saw what the Falcons offense can do when they start heating up. I don't think it's time to press panic buttons until about I'd say about week 4 or 5 is when you start kind of flipping the lid off of the panic button to get ready to press it. But I think the biggest thing Kirk Cousins got to deal with is it's already hard to be a quarterback in the NFL. It's even harder to be in the quarterback in the NFL when you got a guy sitting right behind you that everyone thinks has a lot of promise. So if Kirk Cousins doesn't play as well, and I think the Falcons kind of are in a win now situation to be able to, in the future, retain some of these great players for maybe not as much. So if Kirk can't get it done, he can't get out of the pocket at all, we might see a game where they let Penix take the reins for a game and just see how he plays. We have a tough 2 games coming up versus the Eagles and the Chiefs. I think we'll find out a lot about ourselves in those games. We're going to have to figure out something to deal with a lot of the D line getting through because we already know the Eagles with Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and then you have Chris Jones waiting on the Chiefs. So if we can't figure out this offensive line issue, it could be a rough year. But just because I don't think Kirk can really get out of the pocket like he maybe was able to when he was younger, and he just was not throwing good out of the pressure. That's the only thing I'd say negative about his game was when it comes down to getting hit and throwing the ball out. I hate when quarterbacks do that. Like, just take the sack or throw it away. You don't have to try to force something when everybody's in your face like that. So we'll have to see. Steelers offense, other than like maybe a couple plays, didn't really look that good. Najee Harris is just Najee Harris. George Pickens is pretty solid. Justin Fields had an all right game. His stats look pretty good, but I think that's off of like 2-3 passes where it kind of bombed it down the field to George Pickens. So I really like how our defense played. I think our offensive line needs to step it up. Our wide receivers are getting open a lot, and I think you see that when Kirk has time. So I'm interested to see that. But if it gets, like I said, to about week 4, week 5, and Kirk can't get out of the pocket and we're losing games because there's no mobility in the backfield, might be time to throw Penix in. Like, I think we paid him a lot, but if Kirk cannot get the job done, I don't know. And I don't want this to happen, but if he keeps getting pressured like he got pressured in this game, I could see him getting hurt. I mean, he's an older guy. He's very injury prone. So if he can't get away from the pressure and keeps getting sacked and hit like he was in that game, might be a short season for Kirk.
Poor Falcons. A lot of promise. A lot of promise still. It's not one game to just, it's not the end of the world for the Falcons, which is good. So your thoughts on the Steelers, maybe. I want to hear you talk about them and this whole kind of situation, maybe going forward to next week as well.
I mean, like you said, Najee Harris, I don't know. It wasn't really the greatest game for the Steelers. Well, they didn't even score a touchdown. Like,
yeah,
it's just, I think it really just chalks up to be a really, really bad game for the Falcons. A little bit of meshing we got to do still, but
Arthur Smith revenge game, huh?
Yeah. All those field goals.
He put up a whole 0 points on you guys.
Yeah. I don't know.
Who do you want to play next week?
Are you asking me if I want to play Russell Wilson and Justin Fields?
Yes.
I don't really give a shit. I want to.
You know who you want to play.
I want to play Russell Wilson. That would be fun. But with the way that the Broncos played, I'm kind of nervous about this game now.
We'll get into that later. But
okay.
You want to see Russell Wilson?
Yeah. You see? I retweeted it.
It's the one tweet.
He said, "You a bitch."
Yeah. I think I retweeted it too, and I'm not even a Broncos fan.
See me outside.
Yeah, I didn't really get to watch that game. I was just concerned every time that red zone flipped to it, and there was nobody ever in the end zone. It was just T.J. Watt just sacking people, and I was like, all right, he's back.
Their defensive line won that game pretty easily.
So, I mean, T.J. Watt, he's a monster. So, I don't think many people can stop him, so I wouldn't really take it as a big red flag that you guys couldn't. But it would be a red flag going forward if it's continued to happen with just pass rushers that aren't as good as him.
Yeah, and also I heard something about T.J. Watt having an interview where he saw like a signal that allowed him to jump the snap very well every single time.
Maybe.
So it's like, whatever that is, we need to figure it out. And also maybe don't let the Steelers kind of invade our home field to the point where the home team has to start using silent counts.
But they're Steelers fans.
They travel.
They're good fans. All right, last game of the first slate, Dolphins, Jaguars. Obviously, the big story was Tyreek Hill, among others, getting detained before the game. Other than that, I didn't really think the Dolphins played that great either.
No.
I mean, Tyreek Hill had an 80-yard touchdown or something like that, which was what happened before that. It was Travis Etienne was about to walk into the end zone, and
And
it got fumbled. He fumbled it like literally right before the end zone, and then the
Mhm.
very next play, Tua throws a bomb to Tyreek Hill in that game.
Yeah.
Totally changed. They hit 2 more field goals. Mike McDaniels looks more like he's in Miami every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have many thoughts on this game. I mean, Tua, a lot of yards, 1 touchdown. Not a terrible percentage. Tyreek Hill, 7 receptions, 130, and a touchdown. He had his Scotty Scheffler game. He played pretty well. Trevor Lawrence didn't do great. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't really see much from this game.
Yeah, I think I think the Dolphins are much better than the Jaguars. And if anything, I think I could just maybe chalk this up to just early season jitters, kind of getting back into playing like they were. I think they're going to be much better moving forward. But yeah, I think it was just jitters out of the Dolphins. They made just some stupid mistakes, just a couple fumbles that just didn't look very smooth. If they can kind of fine tune those things, I think they'll be fine.
I feel like a lot of what I'm seeing this week is bad rushing.
Mm-hmm. A lot of teams.
Yeah, help from your running game in this would be very nice. I mean, your starting running back only had 24 yards on 10 carries. That's rough.
Tank Bigsby, 12 carries, 73 yards for the Jags. Not terrible as a backup running back for them. So.
I mean, yeah, you can't. No one cracked 30 yards.
Yeah,
can't let that happen for sure.
And the Dolphins do play through the air, but it would help their air attack if they could run the ball.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, yeah, everyone on this has 10 more yards. It's significant, very significant.
For sure. But big game for them against the Bills coming up on Thursday Night Football. That'll be fun to watch. Let's hope everybody is out of jail for that game. So
we always hope that.
we will get into the second half slate after the break. So listen to the ad read, and we'll come back and talk about all the late games along with the Sunday and Monday Night Football and wrap it up. See you on the other side. All right, exciting news, guys. We have a new sponsor, Verb Energy Bars, simple, natural energy and protein bars. They have flavors like carrot cake, chocolate chip cookie dough, French toast, cookies and cream, anything you could really think of. Brand new product. You guys should go check it out. Make sure you guys use our code, Rock Solid, all capitals, to get up to 30% off. Use Rock Solid, all capitals again, get 30% off. You guys are going to enjoy it. You guys are going to love them. We all do. Go check them out. All right, welcome back to the second half of the show. I think we should start off with the big game that I think everybody wants to hear about first. I'll let you kind of take this away. You get the floor for this one.
Just a rough offensive outing. And, defensive outing as well, I guess.
We're talking about the Denver Broncos and the
obviously.
Seattle Seahawks.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And think about it. 2 fumbles. Can't let that happen. And same thing with Daniel Jones. Bo Nix cannot attempt 42 passes. That's absolutely insane. You need help. He's also our leading rusher. Can't let that happen either. He's not Lamar Jackson by any stretch. I think it was just rough. It's same thing. He's a rookie. He's the captain. They're putting a lot of weight on him. I don't like the way Sean Payton put it. I don't understand what he meant by what he was saying, but I think that he said it wrongly. I think everyone just needed to be better, not just around him. He could have been better, but the whole team needed to be better, specifically the offensive side of the ball. And we almost had a chance to go down and win it if...
Same deal as the Colts game.
Yep, if Tyler Lockett doesn't make that amazing catch. And I've seen a lot of people talking about how Riley Moss had, a bad game. He got all the targets.
Yeah, all of them.
And
Pat Surtain was great.
Yeah, he played amazingly. What do you expect? I think he'll be fine too. Even on that last play where they did get the first down, he was great coverage. Just can't beat a perfect ball.
Yeah. Only note for me was Kenneth Walker getting hurt at the end of the game. I believe he has a hurt abdomen, which is going to hurt a lot of my fantasy teams and my abdomen, and my heart and my brain. So that sucks. But for the Seahawks, not a great game for them either. Just beating the Broncos by 6. I guess the spread was probably near that. I think what was it? The spread was 6.5. So I guess it was kind of expected, at least from Vegas. But I expected Seattle to come out and at least show a little more prowess. Being a playoff team 2 years ago, having DK, having Tyler Lockett, JSN, Kenneth Walker, they have a good offense, and I expected Geno Smith to be a little bit better than he was. Yeah. I don't think he had a terrible game. 18 for 25, 171, 1 touchdown, and an interception. Not great, but also could be worse. Yeah, I didn't see much from the Seahawks that impressed me. Broncos looked a little rough to me, just some of the decision making from Bo Nix, but he's a rookie. I think Big Cat mentioned it. Bo Nix is going to have these games where he makes very exciting plays, and there's also going to be just the other side where he, has those rookie mistakes, and those kind of you're going to have to live with the Bo Nix experience. And rough start for the Donkeys, but again, I think they're in a good spot for them. That it's not going to be the end of the world like it is for other teams that we will talk about in literally the next game. So, your thoughts on the Broncos Seahawks?
I mean, just kind of honestly to bounce off what you said at the end there, I know I'm not. It's the same situation as like the Colts where I'm not a huge Bronco person. So it is one of those things where, like, to me, for a team that came out and is projected to win under 5 games, they look pretty good. So I think Bo Nix, realistically, from what I saw at least, because I only really was watching it on Red Zone, from what I saw, it kind of just looked like all the mistakes he was making was rookie mistakes that rookies tend to do a lot. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him if he can kind of continue to progress. The Seahawks are not a rollover team. I think the Seahawks are a pretty solid team, like you said, a team that went to the playoffs. So I think it's interesting to see what the Broncos will do from here. I think they have a lot to build off of, but I think Bo Nix, will be all right, and I agree with you. I think he's going to have great games. He's going to have bad games. But I think for right now, if I'm a Broncos fan, personally, I'm not too upset with how this game went.
Honestly, I think I'd like, for future purposes, just lose out. I think I would be almost happier than being with losing out and being a top 10 draft pick than being a first round exit.
You don't want to be you don't want to win 8 games. You want to either win 4 or you want to win 12, or 10.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to be in that middle of that pack. So
no, not at all.
You'll have to see going forward these next couple of weeks on how whether you win or lose. I'm not saying you guys want to make the playoffs, but I don't think you want to lose out. You want to win some games.
That's the problem with the Broncos. It's been since we lost Payne. We're always in the middle of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
We never can get a good enough draft pick to make any difference.
Kind of this year.
Yeah, hopefully.
So.
Yeah, that's the only negative with wanting to kind of lose out is then I think you see what a lot of teams go through. You kind of get into this quarterback frenzy of trying to find the guy instead of giving a guy some time to kind of get good with the offense. I think Bo Nix is a really good player, and I think he could grow really well with this organization, but the last thing you want is to have 2 iffy years and then everyone's like, get this guy out, and when maybe he's a third-year blow-up guy.
I think if the organization sticks with Sean Payne has too much pride to let him go. Yeah. As much as he's praised Bo Nix.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he'd just drop him. I think if we get a high draft pick, it's going to be all building around him.
Yeah. Okay, well, we will move on to another AFC West matchup where 2 teams in the AFC West actually squared off. Mm-hmm. Chargers, Raiders. Chargers at home in LA. I don't think we should really talk about this game for too long. No. Besides, J.K. Dobbins had a really good game. 10 carries, 135 yards, and 1 touchdown. That is really good. Yeah. Probably the best rushing performance of the weekend. Jim Harbaugh got his first win in his return to the NFL. Kind of funny. J.K. Dobbins played for Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh coached at Michigan. J.K. Dobbins beat him 3 times in college, and then got him a win this weekend. So, other than that, I don't really think we should talk about this game.
I think they both looked exactly how a lot of people thought they were going to look, which is just kind of meh. Yeah, they're just 2 meh programs. And
I'm really worried about Antonio Pierce. I do not think he's going to be a great coach, but might be too early to tell. So. But yeah, nothing really on that game.
I think Gardner Minshew looked pretty good. I was kind of surprised.
Gardner Minshew's always been kind of a solid quarterback. Yeah. I mean, he's kind of one of those guys where you're not going to get too bad and you're not going to get too good.
Almost got the Colts to the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So, real quick, I think we should quickly gloss over another game, being the Buccaneers and Commanders. Baker put on a show.
Mm-hmm. Bucs are the same offense as they were last year.
Yep. Jaden Daniels played all right. He didn't play too bad for rookie. I honestly thought he was the best quarterback.
He used to buckle up that damn helmet.
Yeah.
Where his dome piece gets blown off.
His helmet fell off about 4 times that game.
If you look at it, it's not even buckled.
He didn't
it's all the way at the bottom. His helmet's bobbling every single time he drops back.
He's going to have to fix that for sure.
If a coach doesn't rip into him and tell him to buckle that helmet up, they got some situations over there, because the last thing you want is the future of your program not buckling his helmet, and then it gets popped off, and then
he gets drilled.
Yeah, a guy like Khalil Mack comes off the corner and puts his helmet right into your bare head. So,
exactly. Other than that, he played great though. Yeah, 17 for 24, 184 through the air, 2 rushing touchdowns. pretty good.
Mhm.
On the other side, Baker played amazing, 289, 4 touchdowns, 62 yards for Bucky Irving. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both played great as expected. So yeah, I think the Buccaneers, as of right now, are the team to beat in the NFC South.
Yeah.
As of right now,
Mhm.
obviously that could change.
This is not really a shock either. I mean, even when in our preview we said if it's not the Falcons, it's the Buccaneers.
It's the Buccaneers for sure. So, yeah, I don't think really much to talk about that game. I will transition this from being Baker Mayfield looked great, and his old team and that criminal of a quarterback looked terrible.
Bad.
The Dallas Cowboys went into Cleveland. I don't know who was the worst quarterback, either Deshaun Watson or Tom Brady in the booth. Both terrible performances. Deshaun Watson, terrible performance on the field, and it might be off the field as well now, once again.
Yeah, got another one of those accusations on him. But to bring it back just to football, I think it's one of those things where I don't know what happened. Like, obviously, a lot of things went down. He didn't play for a year or two. And so that obviously can make a difference. But the player that he was in Houston and the player that we see now are two completely different people. Someone said he died. That version of him died on that massage table.
Yeah.
So now we're just seeing whatever this is. And I think this is one of those situations where you go, I know we paid him a lot, and I know this, that, and the other. You're going to have to eat the money. Play Jameis Winston. Jameis is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson. Jameis could be starting for probably 50% of the league as a starting quarterback, in my honest opinion. Even when he played for the Saints, like, you take away some of the dumb throws he makes. Like, he's a very, very solid quarterback. And we saw what this team can do with not Deshaun last year. They played way better. So
he's also a quarterback that people will rally behind, and Deshaun Watson, I don't think
No.
a lot of his team is.
It's
really on
I have
him
a
right now.
hard time believing anyone in that locker room respects Deshaun Watson, especially just what everything he's done off the field, and he doesn't really seem like a team leader. So I don't know, but I think the smart thing to do is eat the money, admit that you probably made a mistake paying him that much, and start Jameis. I
Close the parlors.
I know it's one of those things where we've said, like, it's a little too early for this, too early for that, but Deshaun has shown nothing but kind of just mediocrity for the past however long he's been playing for the Browns. He's been getting hurt. He hasn't been playing well. There's no bounce back in his future. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys are a team that are looking to play in a Super Bowl this year. And if your quarterback cannot play good against them, that kind of lowers your hopes to be able to kind of beat the top teams. So I think their defense is I think the Browns' defense is all right. I think the Cowboys are just a powerhouse, and they are one of the best regular season teams probably in the history of the NFL, honestly. So we're going to have to see how the Browns adjust from this. I could see them giving Deshaun one more game, but if he kind of stinks to bed again, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's terrible. And I think he should have just been left. He should have never got signed again. And I don't know. I understand. I thought even coming when all that happened, I still didn't think he was on the route to being great. Like, I thought he was a good quarterback, but I don't know. I agree. I think it's time for Jameis Winston. I don't know how after last year's performances, again, I had to say it, we're letting Deshaun Watson throw the ball 45 times. Now we've upped it 3 attempts. Dak Prescott really didn't have too impressive of a game either, really. 19 for 32, 179 yards and a touchdown. I mean, it was all right. Ezekiel Elliott, I thought, looked amazing for being Ezekiel Elliott in 2024.
He looked a lot more like how he used to be running in this game than in past years.
Yeah, me and Joey were watching it, and he said it like within his first 2 runs. He's like, he looks fast again. Like, it's crazy. I don't know. Like you said, the regular season merchants are being the regular season merchants, and it's time to move on in Cleveland.
Yeah, my only notes, I guess, are for the Browns. I mentioned how they could be possibly a playoff team. I kind of want to throw that out the window as long as Deshaun Watson is playing, just because that's how bad he's been. Cowboys, impressive, good win for them. Like you said, regular season, they're great. Nothing short of great again. Brandon Aubrey, their kicker, played great. We saw a punt return in this game as well, so a punt return and a kick return this weekend. And, I guess last note on Deshaun Watson, as you kind of said, he shouldn't have been really signed in the first place. It's okay to get second chances, but when you're getting 26 of them, know, there's a line that has to be, I guess, crossed, especially within organizations where players have daughters and mothers and their teammate is the quarterback, and they have to rally around him. It's not a good look. So give Jameis Winston the keys. He's way more exciting. The guys love him anywhere he goes. So and it would bring way more entertainment for us as well. So
it's a team that Joe Flacco was able to take to the playoffs.
Jameis can do it easily.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, we'll move along to this 2 standalone games, Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. First, starting in Detroit, a rematch of the divisional round last year. Matthew Stafford going in there into Ford Field for the second time since he left and losing once again to the Lions. Last year, he lost by 7. This year, loses by 6 in overtime. Really close game, honestly. Obviously, it went into overtime. Cooper Kupp looked great. Puka Nacua gets hurt. I thought the Lions' offense was honestly pretty terrible until they decided to hand the ball off to David Montgomery, and he turned into prime Adrian Peterson in overtime. Other than that, I mean, this was my prediction for the NFC Championship, and I like it as of right now. I think the Rams played a very good game. Matthew Stafford had a couple mistakes. They did lose Puka kind of early in the game to an injury. He'll be out for like 4 weeks. The Lions didn't look as great as I kind of hoped they did. I was very high on them, saying they were the second best team going into this season. I might reverse that because I think the 49ers looked great last night. But, I mean, another incredible storybook for this Rams-Lions matchup in this, Sean McVay, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, back to the Lions. Just always fun to see. So your thoughts on that game?
It was awesome to see Jameson Williams kind of get his kind of blow-up game.
He looked great.
But at the end of the day, he looked great, but you have to get St. Brown involved.
And
I
Laporta.
feel like he was, and Laporta. I feel like they were very sidelined. They weren't really targeted that much, and when they were, it wasn't for anything huge. So that's one thing I would love to see is just more of that. And then, I think their two-headed running back system with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is beautiful. It's one of the best in the NFL, I think, of 1-2 punches. Matthew Stafford, guy's just kind of always been somewhat of a winner. Like, he's just a dog in the NFL in his whole history of playing, and even when he was back with the Lions. So it wasn't a surprise to see that. The Rams' biggest problem moving forward is just going to be coming back from all these injuries. They were touted and coming into this year with one of the best offensive lines, and they've lost 90% of them now early in the season. So if they can bounce back from these injuries pretty well, they're going to have a great season. They played really good against one of the best teams in the NFL. So we'll see moving forward. But I think that both of these teams are really set up for a terrific year, and I think this game showed it.
We know what the Rams' offensive strategy is.
Throw the damn ball
to
Cooper Kupp.
To Cooper Kupp and get out the way. 21 targets is crazy. I feel like also they need to be a little careful with that, how much they give him. I understand they lost Puka early, which he's a huge part of their offense, so that probably had an effect in that, but I'd be worried with him just coming off of an injury. Lions look great. I think obviously they learned at the end of the game to run the damn ball and give some relief to your quarterback and receivers. But I think that's what I expected at least. Good game. Detroit to come out on top.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people expected. I think the spread was 5.5, so Vegas nailed it again.
Yes, they do.
And another thing that the NFL nailed was Dan Campbell, Applebee's commercials. So I need to see about 10 more of those before they stop those. So that was cool to see those get kind of rolled out a couple days before and then during the game as well. So, great game. I think, again, that's my NFC championship. So I'm hoping to see that matchup again in January. So, and then next, I guess we will talk last game, Monday Night Football. We watched the second half together last night. 49ers 32, Jets 19. Aaron Rodgers' first full game since February of 2020 or January of 2023. So it's been a while for him. He didn't look terrible. It definitely looked a little bit rusty moving wise. He could tell he didn't really want to move out of the pocket. Granted, that's what happened last year when he hurt himself. But his ball placement is the best maybe ever for any quarterback in the history of the NFL. He is an amazing skilled quarterback, and I think we saw it last night as well. I mean, you're going against one of the best defenses almost ever assembled in the 49ers, and just with the schemes they run and everything. Breece Hall, not a terrible game other than the fact that he fumbled his first reception, and that turned into 3 points for the Niners and more momentum just for them in general.
Yeah.
Named Jordan Mason, backup for Christian McCaffrey, probably the best player on the field last night.
Yeah.
He looked great. I mean, when you have the freshest legs on the field and you're in Kyle Shanahan's running system, not a lot can go wrong. So what'd you see? And I know you might have some thoughts on the quarterback in San Francisco.
I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think the 49ers are the 49ers again. I think they're one of the more dominant teams in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers, like you said, I think he just needs to knock the dust off a little bit, and then he'll be kind of back at it. The Jets, we got to see how they keep playing as we move forward. I didn't get to see the whole game, so I can't give a whole great analysis. But, yeah, at Mason coming in playing, that was really good, and that's why Chris McCaffrey can do that well too, is because the scheme is set up that way. Brock Purdy, other than no touchdowns, had an all right game. Like, I think he just performed to how everybody would like him to perform. Maybe just needs to get in the end zone a little bit more than they did. But I don't know. I'm excited to see how the season goes for them. I'm pretty sure I have them in my NFC Championship against the Cowboys. So I'm interested to see how their season kind of progresses, and once they get McCaffrey back as well, they're going to be kind of a dominant force. The defense is just as good. So I don't know, man. It's just so early to tell, but the 49ers look like a powerhouse again.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, yeah, Brock Purdy, average, normal game. I think the biggest thing is, as the Jets being as good as a defense they have, you can't let Jordan Mason come in and have 147 yards.
Or Christian McCaffrey, list team, have 32 points.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And I mean, Brock Purdy just diced him up, got him in field goal range, and let Jake Moody do all the work. I think also on the Jets side, you need a better game out of your playmakers. You can't have Allen Lazard being your leading wide receiver.
Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson definitely need to
I was going to say
play better.
Yeah, Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson could have had better games for sure, and that definitely would have helped. But I think the defense was rough.
The main issue.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that take. All right. Well, that was the full NFL slate this weekend. Awesome to be back. Real quick before we end, go on to one last thing. I'm going to pick my most looking forward to game next week, and then you guys can pick one as well. I will start off since I already have mine ready. Buccaneers-Lions, 11 a.m. on Fox in Detroit. I'm very excited to see what Baker Mayfield does going into Ford Field. I think it's going to be a great game. The spread is right now -7. I think that might be a little far-fetched for how bad the Lions played and how good the Bucs played. I do also believe this was a playoff matchup last year as well. After Tampa beat the Eagles, I believe they went into Detroit to play them, and they lost, I believe, obviously. The Lions went on to play the Rams. But this could be game of the week, in my opinion. I think the Buccaneers have such a high-powered offense. Their defense could struggle, which would also allow the high-powered offense of the Lions to maybe get their feet back under them going into this week, maybe getting Laporta and Amon St. Brown a little more touches. Hopefully, David Montgomery keeps us up. I don't want to see any injuries out of more backfields because it feels like, there's like 10 players already out this week, which kind of sucks, just fantasy-wise and as a fan. And then I'm excited to watch the Buccaneers. Bucky Irving, exciting rookie running back. Rashad White, kind of the same, two-man backfield. I like the way they do that. And then, Mike Evans, Hall of Famer on the other side. I think it's just going to be a fun, exciting game, and it's at 11, so I think it's going to be one of the best games of the early slot on Sunday morning. So I will be ass in couch parked for that one.
Yep. I think I'm stuck between two. I'm stuck between the Sunday night football game.
I'm going to need you to pick one because I think he's going to pick the other.
No, I know. I'm going to go with the Bengals-Chiefs. I think that's a very interesting matchup coming up. We get to see how the Bengals kind of bounce back, and we also get to see if the Chiefs can continue kind of that role going on. So I think it's a really big game for the Bengals to kind of go out and say last week was just a fluke. We're all right. We kind of found our groove. We're going to be okay. And I think that's what their main thing has to be. And I think the Chiefs are going to show whether they are this team that can just take off on everybody moving forward, or if they're going to be kind of like every game's going to be a battle type of thing. So I'm interested to see that game. It's going to wrap up the mid-slate, so I'm excited to watch that one.
Looks like Tony Romo and Jim Nantz on the calls. Whoa,
Ooh,
great.
Yeah.
a Tony Romo Chiefs game. Couldn't get much better than that. He's gonna say Taylor Swift's name like 40 fucking times. Jim Nantz would never.
Yep.
All right.
I was also stuck between two, and there's no one after me, so I could just say both of them. First, Bills and Dolphins.
Mhm.
Obviously, divisional game. It's going to be good, but with the way the Bills played and the way the Dolphins played, I feel like the Bills played better than everyone expected, and the Dolphins played a little bit worse. So I think that it's going to be a way better game than people expect. It spreads at -2.5, and I think that they nailed it.
It's gonna be a great game.
The next game, the one I'm probably more excited for, I guess this would be my pick, is the Bears-Texans game. I think it's going to be Caleb Williams. He's not playing the Titans. It's going to be his first test against a somewhat legitimate defense. Same on the other side of the ball. C.J. Stroud's going to have to play a much better defense. And I think that... Sorry, my fault. I think that it's going to be a great game. It's going to go, I think, one of two ways. It's going to be a shootout, or it's going to be the Texans kicking the shit out of the Bears.
The NFL does such a great job of schedules.
They do.
Standalone games being just so balanced this week, and then obviously Falcons Eagles Monday night as well. Another week to look forward to in football. This will be the last episode on Thursdays that come out. Next week we will record on Sunday. We'll get it out by Tuesday, the latest. We're scheduling Tuesdays as of right now, so. This will be the last Thursday episode, and then we are moving to Tuesdays, trying to get some fresher takes, I guess, out there before maybe, you hear it 100 times from, every other media, platform, anything.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to get them out quicker. And so, we'll be moving to Tuesdays. But so 2 episodes this week, college football. Also on Saturday, a couple good games. I'll be at the CSU game, so I'll definitely give a good recap on that. And then UFC in the Sphere this weekend as well. So a lot of big stuff happening. We'll need Saul back for that. What a great week. I hope everybody enjoyed watching football like we did. We will enjoy it the same every other week coming up. So any last words for the people?
No. Enjoy the football's back. It's not here forever, so take advantage of it.
Go Donkeys, baby.
Go Donkeys. So we will see you Thursday, and we will see you Tuesday. So everybody have a good rest of your week, good weekend. Go watch some football, and tell somebody you love them. You might just make their day. Peace.
Peace.